Please welcome Vice President of Cross Cloud Services, Vittorio Viarengo.
Welcome to Explore 2022. You made it. And on behalf of VMware, I want to thank you for being on this amazing journey with us throughout the year. You being the explorer, always pushing the envelope, challenging the status quo, doing things differently. And in the process, you help your organization grow, save money, and in turn, you made your careers. Over the years, I met hundreds of you, and there's stories of people getting promoted because they save money, because they change the way you do business. It's like endless. And us, with our legendary engineering team, behind the scene, building the technologies, the tools, the GPS, the maps, the navigation that you needed to be successful in your journey. And think about it. In the process, we have transformed entire industries. We have created new ones. And reflect about that for a second. How often does that happen in one's career? I think we should all feel very lucky, us as employees of VMware and you as our customers, for what we achieved together. But this journey, unfortunately, comes with a curse. And the curse is that in this information technology world that we live in, innovation never stops. And so the journey continues. There are new areas to explore, new boundary to be broken. And as we look through our binoculars, what we see, as you heard this morning from Raghu and Kate and Amanda and everybody, the new frontier is multi-cloud. And when I look at multi-cloud, I see a bunch of different islands that need exploring, that needs building, that needs, they're disconnected, they're siloed. And it's time for us to push the envelope once again and turn it into something that can accelerate our business and our careers. This is happening at the pace is, mind-boggling. Like 68% of new apps are built in the cloud, right? Sometimes behind our backs. And developers are very smart, and they look for the innovation. And what is the innovation in the cloud? So they look for every differentiated features of various clouds, and that's why we ended up with pretty much everybody using two or multiple clouds. And you may think, hold on a second, Vittorio, I just have my private cloud, and then I'm Azure. I was talking to a customer yesterday morning. He said, tell me about your cloud journey. He says, yeah, I'm on-prem mostly, and then we have Azure. I said, really? Just one cloud? I said, oh, yeah, but then the business unit is using AWS, and then these other companies that we acquired is using Google. So, okay. So that's the reality, is that you are multi-cloud. And so when you look at this multi-cloud, like everything in IT, it starts nice and neat. There's one cloud, we're using Azure, right? We're cloud first, that's where we're going. Yeah. But in IT, that's never the case, because even if you're using one cloud, you're still managing your private cloud. Edge emerges increasingly in an environment like healthcare, manufacturing, retail. So you already have 3 different stacks to manage and to operate. But if you double click on the public cloud, again, it's just not one thing, because you have the big 3, then you have the enterprise player like IBM and Oracle coming in very strongly, Alibaba. Then you have a sovereign cloud in EMEA and Asia Pac, in places where you need sovereign data and sovereign applications. And so when we look at this, what is the tremendous advantages? That's why we have innovated so fast. That's why we have built all these applications, 25 applications every minute or whatever Raghu said this morning. It's incredible. But in the process, and because of the hyperscaler do their thing, they're bringing innovation, they're bringing differentiated features. Each of these stacks bring their own way of building application, their own way of managing application, their own way of securing application, and so on and so forth. All the way to how you connect these applications to end users. And so at VMware, we have been looking at this picture for 5 years now. Raghu saw this coming 5 years ago when we started our first partnership with AWS. And when we see this, we see something that is very, very familiar to us. Because think about what we do. When I walk down that engineering aisle and I look at our engineering team and their DNA, what is their DNA? Their DNA is to get stuff that was not designed to work together. You know? So on-prem, we use the hypervisor. That was our way to create a level of abstraction that allowed us to pull resources, automate, and go faster. In the cloud, that layer is taken. So we need to do a new approach, a higher level approach, a new level of abstraction that factors out the common things that you can do to build applications, to manage applications once you deploy them. The infrastructure for enterprise application, whatever possible, we're going to talk about that, what are the use cases there. The way you connect applications, secure them, and finally, the way you give, applications are only useful if somebody can access them and do something with them. So how you integrate with the end users. And so last year, we introduced VMware Cross-Cloud Services. VMware Cross-Cloud Services is that high-level abstraction that allows our customers to build, manage, run, connect and secure, and access, remember all 5 of them, consistently across all cloud. That's where the simplicity comes in. All without hiding or preventing you to access the differentiated feature of each cloud. Now, this morning you heard about the high-level announcement. Last year we launched this as a vision. And today with Arya and Tanzu, we are bringing much more innovation around this. But today in this session, we're going to go deeper and get pretty technical about how customers use 1, 2, or a combination of these cross-cloud services to power these critical transformations that most of our customers are undertaking, whether it's growing their business through apps, accelerating their cloud transformation, or empowering their end users. And I want to stop just for a second because you're not going to find better visuals and better explanation of cross-cloud services than today in this session. So I want to give you a chance to boost my ego, follow me on Twitter. But no, seriously, there were 9,000 people at the keynote, and there are like 500,000 customers out there that can use this information. So tweet away, tag it with VMware Explore, Cross-Cloud Services, and then if you want to stay appraised on anything, Cross-Cloud Services, that's the handle to follow. So, ready to dive in? We're going to dive into all these 3 transformations, get very technical, see the product in action, so we not just see pretty picture, and my slides are pretty, but we're going to also see the actual product in action. So let's start from the apps, right? To me, all we do in IT, I don't want to trivialize it, but it's just the developers go. They just go. They build application. They do innovation. And then the stack and everything else follows, how you run it, how you manage it, and so on and so forth. So as we said, our developers have gone into this new frontier in the multi-cloud. And what do they do there? The first thing you need to do in the multi-cloud world, in these islands, is to build stuff, right? To build something that allows then your civilization to flourish. And the stats are like, more and more stats in this presentation about how fast this is happening. And so the challenge there, I'm just going to call out 2 challenges. One, you think that you're adopting Kubernetes and you're done, right? But Kubernetes are probably at least 12 different distributions. And to take a modern application from writing the code to that code being in production, there are probably 50 steps. So that's where our application platform comes in. And with Tanzu, for Kubernetes operations, we give you a way to quickly lay down any Kubernetes environment, including from our competitors, right? Because we want to give the developers freedom of choice. The last thing you want to do is tell developers what to do or what not to do, right? Once you lay down the foundation, like sit in one place, very quickly deploy the foundation, the next step is to be able to give that developer that single pipeline so that they do what they're good at. They're building software, they're building application logic, they drop it on the pipeline. The pipeline that you, as operator, set up will pull all the open source that are required by the application, making sure that you're not distributing malware by accident, right? Use the build-in process and deploy it in production. So once you do that, once you have the applications in production, then you need to deploy those policies, right? For example, these developers can only access machines or environment this big, right? And then application policies like this application, this service can only talk to this other service with micro-segmentation. And finally, you have to secure the whole stack. Not only by making sure that what you're distributing is the latest version of Kubernetes, has been patched, has been, it's clean, but also that you are protecting the application with API encryption, making sure that if you have a PII service only talks to PII certified service and the communication is encrypted and secure. So basically, we thought through really the entire life cycle, how to give the developer the choice, provide the foundation and the guide rail so the developer doesn't get in trouble, doesn't get all of us in trouble, and then how to secure the entire environment. But enough about pretty picture, and now it's time to get technical. So it is my pleasure to invite on stage Amanda Blevins from the CTO office and Richard Munro from our own Cloud Service team to see the product in action.
Thank you. Hello. We have the legend Amanda Blevins with us. Amazing. So Amanda, everyone loves a good conversation about apps, especially these days. But let's keep it simple. What's a good place to start when you're talking about apps?
Well, let's start about the developer experience. Want to start there?
Let's start there. So developer experience. What makes a good developer experience?
We want to make sure that developers can write code, check it in, and see it run in production. So here we have Tanzu Application Platform, and we are running in live mode. And live mode means there's code, it gets deployed through Kubernetes, it is running live. And this is the individual developer environment, or IDE. So you'll see we just clicked on Live Update Running, and now we're going to the Java code itself. The developer is changing greetings from, they're adding their name Ben, and down below, it automatically updates because it redeployed those containers in the background. We can make a few more updates, and you'll see it will continue to do that. So that developer experience is about never leaving the IDE and be able to create new code and see it run in production.
Because it's where they work, it's the environment they're used to. And there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes with secure software supply chains, which the application solution keynote will cover. And there's more that we can do to kind of reduce this concept of developer toil, right? We can give enterprise governed container images. We can give powerful ways to create and access APIs. One of my favorites is we can also give them application accelerators. So application accelerators are like pre-canned templates for cloud-native application patterns. And again, you can see they're accessible here on the left from right within that developer IDE. And the developers can choose from any of these application templates to basically have a fast start. They can choose where to configure them. They can choose how to configure them. And then with just a few clicks, they're basically put back inside their IDE with everything they need, all their libraries and dependencies to get started in that application pathway. And it's not just VMware provides them, you can get them from the Backstage community. In fact, any customer who feels they have a best practice for how their developers can securely get started building an application can create an application accelerator.
Well, that's great.
But developer toil, I guess, is only half of this developer experience conversation, right? Because the other half is developer friction. So friction between the different needs and priorities of developers, security, and operations.
Well, who's BFFs with their developers? Look at none of those hands, right? So that's why we have Tanzu Mission Control. This way, you're able to manage your Kubernetes clusters from anywhere. You can create your Kubernetes clusters with the Create Cluster option, or you can attach a cluster that's already been created in any cloud. It could be Tanzu Kubernetes Grid on-prem or in the cloud. It could be GKA, AKS, EKS, OpenShift, or name your upstream compatible Kubernetes version. Once you're managing this cluster, you now have a number of enterprise capabilities. And in addition to that, you can protect your workloads through our data protection option.
So it's great to have this kind of multi-cloud Kubernetes control plane. But of course, the idea isn't to do everything manually from that. So Within Tanzu Mission Control as well, you can also set policies. And it turns out policies are really important for even simple things like access control. If you have a new project or new resources joining the organization, being able to set policies that gives them access to all the resources they need, wherever they are, whichever distribution, it is a real game changer for getting started fast. And you can also, whilst we're setting that up for flexible consumption, we also need to, of course, protect business guidance. So you can set things like quota policies so that they don't take too much. The other kind of things we can do is, let's say you're building a new project or application that needs PCI compliance. We can set policies to do things like ensuring that the only container images that they receive are PCI compliant themselves.
That's pretty cool. So now, we need to secure these workloads, right? Let's make sure they're secure. So integrated with Tanzu Mission Control is what we call Tanzu Service Mesh. And Tanzu Service Mesh shows you the entire real estate of your multi-cloud application. You can see we're running some of this in one AWS data center, another AWS data center, and even on-prem. And you're able to apply encryption immediately just by checking a box or having it be part of your CI/CD pipeline and secure software supply chain. You don't have to do any network gymnastics to make that happen.
Perfect.
So you've seen us rock through 5 demos faster than Kit and I talked about cross-cloud services in Gen Session. And hopefully you can see that we can help you have that same management capabilities across multiple clouds. We can speed up developers to be able to do what they do and do this at low cost. Okay. So to learn more, I'd like to bring the man, Kelsey Hightower, up here to talk a bit more about being a developer experience, and SRE. Thank you, Kelsey.
How you doing?
Well done today.
Fantastic. Is this off your playlist, the walk-up music?
No, that is definitely not my playlist. This is not what I was dancing to at 4:30 in the morning when I could not sleep. Well, so you gave us an overview of the history and how we got to containers and Kubernetes this morning. But here we're going to talk a bit more about the personal and professional journey of that evolution. I heard you started as a VI admin like I did.
Yeah, I was system administrator. I don't think you can ever get rid of that. So once you're a system administrator, you're a system administrator for life. But I also have the foresight to understand that developers are not just the ones that are writing the code. It's a whole team sport. And so that's when I learned that I probably should learn how to code so I can actually participate at all the levels.
And so how did you move from administrator to coding developer and then be one of the most important people in cloud computing?
Oh, I like that title. I'm going to put it on my performance review. Honestly, I was working in the enterprise, and when I started working there, I introduced Puppet to this organization, Puppet version 0.248. This is not even 1.0, and I'm at a financial services company. And they're like, what the hell are you doing? This will never see the light of day in production. And so I sat on it for a while, and there were some integrations that we could do. And at the time, I'm managing JBoss applications, and they did things the Java way, the JBoss way. But we wanted to implement things like service discovery, so we can actually tell the apps what to do and automate connecting them to a load balancer. And all of my developers are like, we ain't got time for that. Everything is due by Friday, and we ain't adding that to the list. And I remember that weekend, I went to a bookstore. We used to have these places you can actually physically go in and buy books. And I bought this book about Java. And in all the Java books back then, you built a bicycle shop. I don't know why, but that's how they taught me object-oriented programming. And I learned just enough to do the integration that I wanted the developers to do. I wanted them to change the logs. You know how you have errors in the logs? And if you've worked there long enough, you know that you can ignore those errors. And I was like, why don't we just reclassify them as something else so they don't keep making Nagios trip? And I was like, I could write that code. So I decided that I would write my first set of contributions at that organization and stop complaining so much about developers not doing the things we needed to do from an operations standpoint. And so I did, and the code got reviewed and it got merged in. And I realized that these roles are just HR titles. They shouldn't be limitations on how we go about doing our job.
Thank you very much. And so a lot of these folks are VI admins. Maybe coding, kind of to me, is a little intimidating. How would you help folks move along in their career if they want to become site reliability engineers or get into DevSecOps?
You have to look at the mirror at some point and say, HR is not you. Your title is not who you are, period. It's just your job. And at some point you have to ask, what do you want your job to be? Full stop. So yeah, you can walk around, there are people with Linux distribution tattoos. That Linux distribution is probably not that popular, right? And you're gonna have to go to vacation and explain what the hell this tattoo stands for. You are not your job. And so an administrator is this thing where you're supposed to be over in administrating a particular system. What does that system exist for? And when that system falls short, you have to ask yourself, who's going to bring it up to par? Do you sit around and wait until the vendor has their next release? Or do you roll up the sleeves and you push things forward? And so I think making the leap, first thing you gotta understand is you are not your job title. Second, you can actually learn new skills. Full stop. And I know a lot of people that are system administrators, you've created this box or you've lived in this box for so long. And I've met people, 20 years of 1 year experience. I've been doing this for 20 years, but they've never progressed from the things they learned in their first year of their career. This is a very dangerous place to be in. And it's unnecessary limitation that I think people put on themselves. So I would say step one, you're not your job title. And if you believe that, then you'll be willing to reach into the toolbox and grab the tool that you need. And it's okay if you don't know how to use it.
I really like that, 20 years of 1 year experience. That's a great way to talk about we need to have growth. So where would you advise folks to start if they want to have that growth and they want to move into coding?
Listen, you're at that stand-up. Y'all probably still have those. And you're talking about all the things that need to get done. These are opportunities. And you can ask yourself, given my skill set, what can I do to contribute to the whole? Don't worry about what your title is. Ask yourself, what can I contribute to the whole? And it turns out, being a system administrator, you know all the problems.
That's true.
You see all the bugs. I just wish the app would retry the database connection when we rotate the password. These are all opportunities, so everything in that backlog is an opportunity. And so what you can do is pluck one of the things off the backlog. And remember, you can take your time because it's on the backlog. No one's expecting anything. And you go off and you invest in those skills and you try it. And when you check in that code, watch the delight and the surprise of the rest of the team, noticing that you're willing to cross that boundary, that imaginary boundary, and actually fix some of the problems that the organization has. That's it. And it's just sitting there waiting for you to step up and take ownership. And so that would be the thing. You got to step up and take ownership.
Now, I did ask that question, a little bit of a joke, but nobody raised their hand when I asked if they were best friends with their developers. So to close, what would you tell folks so they can learn more about improving that relationship and working better with their developer colleagues?
You are a developer. There's a lot of the stack. Turn off the server and see what happens. So there's a dependency, there's a codependency. Software development is a skill set that allows us to build things that don't quite exist yet. Most developers, I'm one, most of the code is copy and paste straight up. How to do X, copy, paste, oh, it looks like it works. That library has a lot of stars on GitHub. Maybe we should run it in production. We're doing the same thing. So I would say to wrap up, again, these are just skills that you can put in your tool belt. And if you're willing to do that, you will watch the lines just strictly erase. System administrator versus software developer, these are just people who have a certain set of skills that can contribute to getting things done. That's it. You don't have to wait for HR to rebrand you as DevOps engineers. Pretty sure a bunch of LinkedIn profiles got updated, but the behavior didn't change. So my final word of advice, go change the behavior. The skills you're missing, add them to the tool belt, and watch the things that you can build.
That's great, Kelsey. I could probably talk to you all day, but we have to invite Vittorio back to the stage to talk more about cross-cloud services. Give it up for Kelsey.
That's awesome. So Kelsey not only is a quote machine, but it should be your model. The way you model your career, right? Break those boundaries. We have provision enough VMs. Let's go and get in front. I was talking to Ben at S&P Global, and he said, dude, I had to get in front of my developers. I just had to. I had to. And I used Tanzu to do that. So homework for you as you spend the 3 days here, go learn about Tanzu's mesh, mission control and everything that we talk about. so that you can transform your business and accelerate that transformation through the application. And start to embrace those DevOps practices that, one thing that Kelsey said that resonated with me is like building applications is a team sport. You're part of that team. It's not us versus them, it's a team. And then in the process, you're going to advance your career. Okay, so we talk about how to build applications. And by the way, no hypervisor was used in the execution of all that, right? So we lost that hypervisor religion when it comes to cloud, because we have to speak the lingua franca of the cloud, which is all about open source and those type of standards. But this is where we're going to go into the next phase, or next transformation. Because when you are exploring a new territory, like we're doing here with multi-cloud, it's like you're forgetting where you've been, right? You're bringing your custom, you're bringing what you know how to do. In the case of multi-cloud is to bring your application, your enterprise application, to actually run your business, your legacy application. I love legacy because I talked to a customer once who said, Vittorio, you call it legacy, I call it stuff that works, right? And then delivers value. And so we have to find a way to bring this along the journey. And the challenges here are clear, right? Different stacks, different management again. When you bring in this application, how many of you have tried to move your application to a cloud only to realize that months later you have to refactor the application, it doesn't fit? And so this is where VMware Cloud comes together. So VMware Cloud is an engineered integration of cloud management capabilities, infrastructure capabilities, and security capabilities to give you the most cost-effective way to bring your applications and your infrastructure to the cloud. And so if you use VMware Cloud, and I strongly encourage you to set up a pod and try it, you can quickly deploy VMware Cloud, that environment that you trusted us to run your most mission-critical enterprise application for 20 years. We ported that environment natively. This is a misconception. This is not a layer above a layer above a layer. This is a native service on AWS, Azure, Google, and so on and so forth. So what is the advantage of that? I was talking to Guide One the other day and said, oh, we moved to the cloud with VMware Cloud. My team didn't even know that we moved. They just opened the console and they realized that they had all this environment deployed. And once you do that, then guess what? You can vMotion your application untouched to the cloud. S&P Global, again, you heard from me this morning, they had to shut down a data center in Belarus because of recent events. They did it in 1 weekend. In 1 weekend, they set up another environment, moved the application, never looked back. And then, of course, once you're there, you can use ARIA, which is an integration, a new generation of vRealize and all the things that you already are familiar with, but with this new object model allows you to get an inventory of everything that goes on across all your clouds. And so not only you don't have to retrain your team, you don't have to change your procedures. All your procedures you put in place over the last 20 years, they still work. And then, of course, we're not just going to the cloud to have another place to run an application. We go there to take the application and we turn it into microservices that you can reuse and recompose in new interesting services. So you can use Tanzu that we talked about earlier to modernize that application. And the latest version of vSphere, actually for the last 2 or 3 versions, you can run Kubernetes and VM's application side by side using Kubernetes as the orchestration engine. And finally, security. This is, we talked about it this morning also, this is where we have a very, very peculiar position in the stack when you're running on VMware Cloud. Because in this case, we actually have our hypervisor there. So we see everything. Not only do we see what happens on the network and what happens between clouds and microservices, but then you can see once something gets in, all the interaction between applications on the hypervisor. So something that looks innocuous on the network, when you correlate that event with something that happens in the hypervisor, you realize, okay, this is a threat, we need to stop it. And so to see this in action again and get very technical, let me welcome on stage again Amanda and Richard.
Back again, Amanda.
We really like high-fiving at VMware, apparently. Really into it.
So You know, one of the big things when it comes to kind of cloud transformation that's still such a hot topic is cloud migration. Amanda, maybe using one of our freshly announced services, how on earth are people actually doing these big cloud migrations in such a short space of time?
Well, it is difficult to migrate to public cloud if you're going to refactor all of your applications. So let's talk about moving them in bulk. This is VMware Aria. You were one of the first folks to see this. So here, we're planning our cloud migration. We're looking to see what virtual machines, what workloads talk to each other. And we're able to plan this out based off of information that Aria is collecting through that graph database and graph display that Raghu was talking about this morning. And now we can see that Aria has created these migration bundles for us to help you say, oh, I'm going to do first bundle this weekend, next weekend, so on and so forth. And then we can send it for approval, because clearly we don't want it all on us. We want somebody else to be at fault if it doesn't go well. And once we get that approval, then we could also see what is the TCO. Maybe they don't want to give it to us until we can say, look, we are saving money when we move to public cloud. We can also troubleshoot to see what might go wrong in case it does. And then finally, let's do that migration.
Outstanding. We like Aria? Look good?
Yeah, give it up for Aria.
So the important thing, though, is sometimes this gets categorized as lift and shift, but this is so much more than lift and shift, because these cloud environments, as Vittorio said, you can see here that somebody is creating resources in Kubernetes, whereas on the left, your administrator is actually seeing the objects created with the same object names. And this is so important because it's really hard for teamwork to form if you can't talk the same language. And as well as having this destination cloud environment that you can get to so easily be great for your traditional applications and your new applications, these VMware Cloud environments also integrate with public cloud native services from Google Cloud, from AWS, from Microsoft Azure. So you basically end up with this huge range of options for easy ways to modernize your applications once they're in the cloud.
And I'd like to point out, that's vSphere. That's the same cluster where you can run modern applications and traditional VMs. Now,
so getting to the cloud, though, is still only half the story, because then you need a cloud operating model, right?
And we want to make sure that we're maximizing our spend in the public cloud. So here you see Aria cost. And with Aria cost, there you go, now you see it. Now with Aria cost, you're not only able to look into your vSphere environments, but also you can see all of the services that the various teams in your organization is using. So here we're looking at the crypto exchange team, and across the top there are a list of AWS services. This could apply to other cloud environments, but you can see the spend by service by day.
It's really important to be able to show back and charge back these costs, because if you're setting up your environments to be consumed by lines of business and project teams, it's really important that you can go back and say, look, it's great that you're doing these wonderful things. Here are the costs and the resources that you're consuming, as well as helping them with policy guardrail protection and the like. Now, for when it comes to this multi-cloud world, we have heterogeneity, we have complexity, we have new operating models. I've been around a while, I smell risk. And it's quite clear that our traditional security models are just not going to cut it in this world. And this is where VMware Cross-Cloud Services again comes in by embracing, they're designed for this new multi-cloud, multi-application framework world. So if we look at just an example of NSX detect and respond, what we can do is we can look across our whole environment. We're not dependent on north-south firewalls. We can look at patterns of attacks and threats. We can analyze what they're doing, which routes they're taking. And we can take steps to stop them, in particular to prevent them moving laterally across our networks, clouds, and applications. And basically, through these tools of detection, prevention, and response, we're able to continuously check the integrity of our data and our applications.
Advanced threat protection is one of my favorite features of NSX. So if you're not familiar with it, definitely go to a deep dive to learn more.
So the upshot is, why are we going through this? What's the urgency to do it now? The benefits are huge. You've seen how easily you can get started. Our customers are reporting up to 35% revenue increase because they're able to deliver apps faster. They're reporting up to 41% lower costs from just trying to run IT infrastructure. So, the big benefits are really there for something achieved so easy. Amanda, I'd like to thank you so much. You were awesome in the general session keynote. It's lovely to have you here on stage doing demos with us. Amanda Blevins, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, so that you hear this term thought leader quite a lot. I'm actually thrilled that we have David Linthicum here today. He's offered so much valuable insight over the years to all of us. So can you please welcome the Chief Cloud Strategy Officer from our great partner Deloitte, David Linthicum.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, David. So David, we're all talking multi-cloud, cross-cloud services. Multi-cloud, is it real?
Yes.
I'm so relieved you said that. This could have been a really awkward conversation. Okay, can you expand on that? In what way is it real? What are you seeing with your customers?
Well, the fact of the matter is either multi-cloud, you'll do multi-cloud on purpose, or multi-cloud will happen to you. So people, whether they realize it or not, there's typically more than one public cloud brand, edge computing, all these complexities are starting to rise up. We're just not seeing them and managing them. So multi-cloud is prevalent. You just saw the stats you put up. It's 87%. I've seen as high as 95%, as low as 70%. But the reality is everybody's moving in this direction, whether they like it or not. And so your ability to have these assets under management and leverage them effectively is really kind of the objective of all this. So multi-cloud's there. What are you going to do with it? Is it going to be additive to your IT infrastructure, or is it going to be something that's going to have too much complexity, too much heterogeneity, where operations and security and all these things become an impossibility?
So it's real, it's something we have to tackle. So again, in your experience, who's getting it right, who's getting it wrong, and what's the pattern there?
Yeah, the people who are getting it right are the people who do the planning, in other words, accept that we're moving in this direction. So we're going to have multiple clouds, we're going to have existing legacy systems aren't going to go away, we're going to have edge computing, we're going to have our private clouds that we've built over time, virtualization, and your ability to put a plan in place in terms of how you're going to abstract these various systems and leverage technology that exists in between these various cloud providers will be your key to success. So in other words, if we're planning, we're abstracting, we're pushing things up into a centralized layer. People are calling that super cloud or meta cloud, whatever. But really kind of multi-cloud, when you get right down to it, is not about clouds. It's about building these cross-cloud services and doing so in an effective way. And the only way to do that is if you put the planning and the technology into that particular stack. If you think you're going to do this by running native services, whether it's security operations, on every little cloud there, different application development and testing, different data integration platforms, the complexity is going to overwhelm you. It's just not going to work. So if you plan for solving these issues and put the technology in place to solve these issues, you'll be successful.
So maybe you can just expand a little bit more on, you talked about kind of abstracting and beyond, because the goal obviously is these cloud services, they add a ton of value. Can you just expand a little bit more on the value of services from any cloud and kind of the role of this abstraction, cross-cloud services in trying to solve those challenges that these customers are all going to face?
Yeah, the reason we're moving into cross-cloud systems, when you think about it, is we're going to have these best-of-breed services that serve the particular roles in building these applications and build these solutions. So we're not going to limit our developers to just using services from a single cloud provider. So if we're moving forward, it's the ability to leverage all these various services and have access to them through this abstraction layer. We're able to broker and find the services, able to abstract the services, able to pull it into whatever solution, and do so in a single unified way where the heterogeneity and the complexity is in essence hidden from me. So if I'm a developer, I don't want to have to go through the native interfaces to get to the particular AI system I'm looking for. I just want to get to the AI system through a common interface where I can leverage any number of AI systems through a single layer of abstraction, a single set of interfaces, a single dashboard. So this is about removing all of the things that are native and specific to a particular cloud provider. It doesn't mean we're commoditizing these providers. I hear that a lot. It means we're able to leverage them more efficiently. In fact, I think everybody's going to win in this movement because everybody who's building cross-cloud services, VMware, for example, other people who are kind of banking on this space are going to make out like bandits because they need the technology to make that happen. But certainly the cloud providers even are going to sell more because they're able to provide access to the various services, which are much more easier than they could in the past.
So you know, and that certainly resonates with the conversations I have. When we looked at Tanzu Mission Control earlier, Tanzu Mission Control aggregated things that you can do in cloud environments as well. And you know, there's times where people will want to go into the Google Cloud Console to do those Kubernetes. There's times where you want that unified view, and it's the ability to do whatever's right for what you're trying to achieve, isn't it? So, you know, there is a lot to do. It's exciting for me. We, as technical people, always tend to look at what can go wrong and the complexity. So, what's the upside?
What's the upside or what's the downside? What can go wrong or what can go right?
What can go right? Let's go optimism. So, what, you know, because otherwise, why are we taking on these risks? What's the point? So, let's have some good feedback on, you know, what are people actually achieving when they go through this?
The reality is you can change your business, the essence of it. You can become a more innovative and agile and speed to market environment because we're not going to have latency and having to deal with different technologies and different areas of the operation. As soon as we're able to identify a solution, some sort of innovation we're looking to build, we're able to leverage whatever services we need to build them through this layer of abstraction, bringing these things together. So what can go right is you can make a game-changing technology infrastructure for your company that's able to take the organization to the next level by making them much more innovative. And you look at the way companies are going to be valued moving forward, it's going to be valued around the innovation. I mean, look at the disruptors today and those who are being disrupted. The disruptors are able to own their particular market because the differentiation is going to be the technology you're able to provide. So innovation is going to be key. That can go right. You can make your business.
So if we want to weaponize the tech, to your words, of being able to take advantage of any of these fantastic services that now exist in the market, Cross-Cloud Services is basically offering you a route to make sure that you're avoiding silos and fiefdoms, right? Is that a good way to put it?
That is a good way to put it. If you think about it, we're not limiting utilization of technology. And so in other words, people are able to leverage whatever technology they need at any time for any reason, for any particular purpose, and we don't have to worry about them complicating things by putting additional complexity and heterogeneity onto it. So if we're thinking about this, that's a hard problem to solve, but ultimately that's where we need to go to make this happen. So we can pick whatever technologies we need to pick to solve the issue, and it's able to solve the issue, make us an innovative company, make money. That's what technology is there to do.
And it dovetails nicely with Kelsey's comments from before, because if that's the opportunity at the business level, the opportunity of the people who are in best position to do that are probably sat right here in this room, you know, and able to kind of go and deliver the value of that cross-cloud services capability.
Yeah, take this away. This is the lesson here, that this is about what exists in between the various cloud services, and your ability to look at key technology partners to get that right is absolutely critical. Sorry to interrupt you.
Fine. David, thank you so much. We're out of time. I'd always love to spend more time with you, but a real pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, David Linthicum. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, if you think about what we've had so far, you know, we've had multi-cloud, we've had applications, we've had technical demos, you've seen Aria, we've had incredible speakers. Surely there can't be any more. There is a lot more. It's fantastic. Let's welcome back Mr. Passion, Vittorio Viarengo.
Thank you. So there's so much more coming with a couple of incredible surprises that we cooked for you. But I want to thank the demo god, Richard, Amanda, you're amazing. But I also want to thank a ton of people that there's a lot of work that goes into these demos and in preparing this, like Mark Moretti, Dave Volpert, and Jim Braden. So thank you very much for all of it done. And then there are people behind the cameras and that make us all look good, although there's not enough plastic surgery to make that happen for me. Okay, so here's your homework. How many of you are using VMware Cloud today? You gotta go back and try it. I mean, you're gonna be heroes. You're gonna stand up that, move your application to the cloud. You're gonna be absolute hero. You know, I was talking to an employer, 300 applications, shut down 2 data centers in 2 weekends. Now, they were shutting down data center, but you know, if you're just embracing the cloud, you have to try VMware Cloud. It's our and your bread and butter. There's no excuse not to do that. Okay, so let's talk about the third transformation, which is at the end of the day, we have explored these new islands, we have built out applications, we built out our buildings, we brought our know-how, our existing applications. Now it's time for the civilization to flourish. For that, you have to build bridges, you have to bring the power, you have to bring that type of infrastructure. That's end-user computing. And this environment is so complex right now. You are accessing applications through networks that you don't operate, a mix of device owned by the company, device owned by the employer. It's really complicated. And the problem with this environment that customers tend to use a piecemeal approach to this. And we believe that the answer is automate and integration and automation. Having an integrated approach to solving end-user computing, and that's where our Anywhere Workspace service comes in. And first of all, it supports any sort of mode, whether it's employee device provided by the company, gives you that network quality, right, with the ability to use it. Amanda actually has a great demo where she shows how you use a combination of the satellite and landline to have an amazing experience independing of the level of service of the individual networks. And then how do you get people productive? You give them an app store that spans SaaS and mobile. You give them a single sign-on so they can get to their application securely, and they're in business. And because of our integrated approach, if something goes wrong, you are in a better position to fix it because you don't have to chase different tools. It's all in one place. And finally, in an environment like this, you have to deploy a zero trust type of networks where you don't trust anybody and you let the good people in by knowing the context of what they're doing, not be beyond the two-factor authentication and everything. So, one last demo. For this demo, I like to bring on stage where I'm all set. This was my baby. My first time around the VMware, I used to run that team, and so I'm going to give the demo of end-user computing. And so I want to start from the management and automation. Right? So this is the carbon black cloud dashboard, where you see in one place everything that goes on in your end-user computing portfolio, where the endpoint status, your VMware workloads, your critical vulnerabilities, so get a complete inventory of what's going on. And from there, you can drill down and see your endpoints, your USB devices, just in one place, you see everything that goes on across your end-user computing. But then if something goes wrong and you have a malware attack, it allows you to drill down and see which application caused that malware and track it down, fix it, and then this is where automation comes in. You can say, you see this? Now every time you see something like this, block it dynamically in real time. So this is the operation side of things. But at the end of the day, why do we put all this together? I think there are two constituencies that are high maintenance in our organizations, right? Besides the executives, maybe. Developers, we talk about them, and users. And so the other thing you cannot manage, a phrase, that everybody uses, you cannot manage what you don't measure. And so we have a way for you to measure the quality of the end-user experience. By saying, for example, here, how many of your laptops and endpoints are having a good experience. What does having a good experience means that how many crashes they're experiencing. Are they running towards the end of life of their battery and things like that. And so you can see it over time, and then from there, you can also drill down into the problematic ones and go figure out that, for example, there is this Zoom application that has a bad interaction with this DLL, the DLL hell, and you can go fix it. So a very complete solution for end-user computing that puts end-user experience first, especially in a world that is increasingly hybrid. We need to keep our end-user productive with an excellent user experience, and but without giving you the headaches of having to chase down multiple tools. So this is everything you wanted to ask about cross-cloud services and never dare to ask in one presentation. But before we close, and I'll let you go to your lunch, we have two very special guests. Because And I mean it. We'll look at VMworld and now Explore as a family reunion. We literally look at you guys as the extended VMware family. But as a standard VMware family, sometimes you don't get to leave some of the culture and the things that we do internally at VMware. So today I want to give you an insight into some of our internal culture treats. So I want to bring on stage two high maintenance, very, very high maintenance guests that we had to fly in on an helicopter and then a limo. And he wanted a full body massage before and after. She does not talk to anybody. So let me welcome on stage Jeff Goodall, who is our Chief Culture Officer. And ladies and gentlemen, for the first time, live on stage at Explore, Rosie, our turtle.
Hello, it's good to see you all. Thank you, Vittorio. Thank you, my friend. How are you? This is wonderful. We're in person. We're in person. Great to see all of you.
So,
oh my God.
Thank you, Amanda, for giving us this great idea. Because how many of you know about the turtles? You follow them. They're famous. They're on Twitter. And so tell us the story behind the turtle. The turtles.
Well, first off, thank you so much for that incredible welcome here, Vittorio. You know, VMware, we are the kings and queens of culture. We are the deities of diversity and inclusion. I can think of no other company in Silicon Valley or globally that wants you, the employee, to bring your true self, 100% self, to work every day and encourages it. It's just amazing what VMware has done over the years. Rosie. So when I was first hired at VMware as a facilities technician, the words that kept popping up always came back to being disruptive. Take chances. Do it, but innovate while you do it. And I'm just a facilities technician, but there's innovation in a site when you're building it and opening it up. So we had a koi pond, and we were trying to figure out how to get the koi in the pond, the water balanced, and have it accommodate these fish. We were having troubles with it. It was really busy. It was crazy. We moved on to other things because we just couldn't make the time for the pond. I needed a break. So I went off site to this place called the Alpine Inn, formerly known as Rosati's. It's this historical landmark on Stanford property up in Ladera. I walk in the door and the owner-proprietor, Molly, is there, and she's really upset. She wasn't happy at all. I said, Molly, are you okay? What's wrong? What's going on? She said, Jeff, somebody left a turtle here. It's in the kitchen in the back. I don't know what to do with it. I think I'm just going to let it go in the beer garden and be done with it. I'm like, Molly, you can't do that. It'll die. You know, there's raccoons, possums, coyotes up in the hills of Stanford. I said, all right, I'm going to be disruptive. I thought, I'm going to do something innovative. Molly, give me the turtle. I'll take it back to campus. I'll sneak it into the pond. So I did. And this is her.
And since then, how many do we have now?
We have 16 turtles that are all rescued, that needed a home, that needed a place to live. And so we took them in.
And then part of the culture also, this pond, we do something else. You want to talk about the dunking?
Oh, the pond, the dunking, yes. So this carried on from a site that we used to lease. If your teammates, if your cube mate, your office mate, if somebody at VMware finds out that you are engaged, they have the option of bringing you down to the pond and tossing you into the pond. Now, I'll tell you, we had in 2018 over 40 people dunked in that pond.
There you go.
Yeah, and nobody has been divorced.
Speaking
that's gone to that water.
Family is growing. And then the Turtle Day and the other things that we do?
I tell you what, our culture is all about work-life balance, being family-friendly, having a good time, informative fun. And so this Turtle Day, Earth Day bash, gosh, in 2018, we had over 2,300 little kids and their families, grandma, grandpa, significant others running around, learning about composting, e-waste, recycling, what they could do to be sustainable in the earth, on the earth, and the planet. And you could see here, the Empire visited us as well, and they learned a thing or two. It's great stuff.
Anyway, I want to thank Jeff. Jeff is one of the most delightful, thoughtful person I know. And what he does for us, I wish all of you to have a Jeff in your company.
Thank you so much, Vittorio, so much. Thank you.
We all love you. We all absolutely love you.
I might not have a Linux tattoo, but I do have
Look at that
turtle tattoo. Thank you, Vittorio. Have a great VMware Explore, everyone. Thank you.
Well, I thought we could give you a little bit of insight in our culture. So one more thing. Speaking of culture, one of the things that was very popular years ago was the VMware, I love VMware sticker. So everybody will gonna get one on the way out. So anybody has one of these and likes it? So this is the multi-cloud edition. But in closing, I want to we have a surprise for you. I've been talking about this. That we made a special T-shirt just for the people that would come to this session. As you have seen, we have been building the technology that is required to be successful in this multi-cloud world. And I have an ask of you that you use this conference to go and learn how to build how to manage and secure new applications, how to use VMware Cloud to move to the cloud, and how to empower your end users with. And if we all do this together, I think we have an opportunity to extend our journey with one difference, that this time is going to be much bigger because multi-cloud is just that much bigger than everything else. And so I want you to go out there and be recognized as a certified VMware Cross-Cloud Service Explorer. So who wants a T-shirt? Amanda and Richard want to come on stage with me? Anybody? So are you guys ready for this journey? Not even close. Anybody ready for this journey?